Hi there, this is David and welcome to the top 10 best JRPG SNES hidden gems. While I grew up on the NES, the SNES was truly a treasure trove of great JRPGs. More so in Japan though. As a huge fan of the translation scene, I have played all the ones released here in America, but also the ones ultimately translated into English as well. So separating the wheat from the chaff and finding those hidden gems can be a bit of a problem. However, I am here to help. I'm actually going to be ranking these games based upon their relative obscurity. More well-known titles will be towards the top of the list, and as we continue, we'll get to the real unknowns. So, let's start going back to the library of this golden age console. Number 10, Evo Search for Eden. Can we get a remake of this game, or could this just become a series? Just imagine what a game like this could be like today. Give me an open-world Pangea to explore as you choose your own evolutionary path. How amazing would that be? As it stands, this game follows 5 chapters from the primordial sea through the Ice Age to the emergence of modern man as the world changes and you evolve from a small fish to an amphibian, a reptile, and then a bird or a mammal. It's really interesting and fun to go to all the hidden areas and play around with the evolutionary system as you evolve your creature into an apex predator. I love this game, even though it does have some major hitbox problems, but it's just so unique, and I want a modern adaptation. Number 9, RoboCheck. Enix was such an oddball developer. I really do miss them and their antics. Back in the day, they published the Dragon Quest series as well as tons of off-kilter experimental games, such as this, RoboCheck, which follows a boy inventor who doesn't do any fighting himself, but instead builds and modifies robots to fight for him. You'll be collecting parts and combining them to create weapons, tools, and armor for the bots as well. In a way, this could be the precursor to the Atelier games, with all the combining and inventing going on. Also, the story really doesn't take itself seriously at all. You'll be turning into mice, sneaking into castles, and going all over the island world to save it from the hackers. Number 8, Super Adventure Island 2. When I was a kid for my 8th birthday, I got Adventure Island for the NES. I remember being so excited to play it, only to find out that it was absolute dog shit. I hated the damn thing, though the future games in the series did improve upon the formula with an overworld to explore and animal friends to assist you. However, the real game changer was this SNES release with a true world map, spells, equipment, items, treasures, and armors too. The entire game is a non-linear jaunt with Master Higgins and side-scrolling adventure fun. While this game might not look like the other truly traditional JRPGs on the list, I do think that you might be pleasantly surprised if you check it out. Number 7, Terenigma. Like many other games on this list, Terenigma did not come out in America, though it was translated into English and released over in Europe. But that's quite a shame, because it's one of the best action RPGs on the SNES. Terenigma takes place in the real world, only the world is sealed, and you have to resurrect the continents, animals, plants, and people. And it takes the best of the series and combines the themes into a timeless classic. The gameplay is action-based, where Ark uses varying techniques to fight with his elemental spears and curb stomp the baddies into the ground. The story and watching the world evolve, grow, and change right before your eyes, due solely based upon your actions, is really satisfying. Number 6, Bahamut Lagoon. Whereas nowadays Square just seems to be like a Final Fantasy milking machine, back in the day they were no stranger to experimentation, coming up with some pretty cool games, most of which we really didn't receive in the West though. And this is one of those lost gems. Following the adventures of Captain Bayou and a squad of dragons as he flies between the floating continents, or lagoons, to repel the invasion of the Grand Belos Empire, the graphics are absolutely gorgeous, easily some of the best on the system. And interestingly enough, environmental effects are taken into account. It's really too bad that they never revisited this IP, because it could have been one of the jewels in their crown. The story is grandiose and serious, with different choices to make that actually affect your relationships with your characters and the overall ending of the game. Number 5, The Treasure of the Ruras. Has a more poignant and relevant game ever been created? As usual, this was only released in Japan, but it follows 3 heroes on their separate journeys to stop a never-ending cycle of death and rebirth of humanity. There's a grim overarching tone and somber story of pollution, environmental destruction, and the apathy of humanity as the world goes straight into the shitter around them. The story begins just 2 weeks before humanity is destined to perish, and that's all the time that you have. Worth noting, though, is the magic system. By speaking to people, reading books, or finding treasure, you learn different mantras or key words, and these mantras are actually spells which you can then modify with prefixes and suffixes to enable them to do different things. It's addictive, and the story is enthralling. I could not put this one down. Number 4. Treasure Hunter G. Released on the SNES in 1996, this is a tactical RPG that follows the adventures of two brothers, Red and Blue, who might seem familiar from Saga Frontier. The story is a bit wacky, involving a missing father, resurrecting dinosaurs, and dancing monkeys. But the gameplay is super fun and the graphics are out of this world. It looks like a PlayStation or N64 game. Painstaking detail went into the world. You can interact with pretty much every little thing in the environment, from barrels to flowers to beehives. And you can use anything in your arsenal to win the strategy battles set off before you. This is an odd mix of traditional JRPG with a world map, towns, and dungeons to explore, but whenever you get into a battle, they're all large-scale brawls, kind of like Shining Force almost. Check this one out. Number 3. The Magical Land of Waz. How many times do I need to mention this awesome game? Well, it's never enough as far as I'm concerned, because I love this little gem. Before this was fan-translated, I remember looking at the screenshots on Game FAQs and thinking, wow, this looks fantastic. And when the patch was finally released, I realized that it really was! You can choose your hero at the start of your journey, and it's all a bit different depending on your choice. The game is lighthearted, and the instruction manual even came with a comic book. You can invent different items and weapons, even different modes of transit to traverse the world, such as tanks and airships just to steamroll your way through the land of Waz. If you haven't heard of this game, I highly suggest looking into it, and if it strikes your fancy, download it. You will not regret it. Number 2. Terenigma Machia Zero. For those in the dark here, this is a fan-translated RPG in the much-acclaimed Far East of Eden series, which has languished in Japan for far too long. It's a traditional turn-based JRPG, but what makes it so special is its humor, as well as the innovative time system. The cartridge actually had a built-in clock that kept time, and certain events only happened on certain days, and sometimes shops were only open on the weekends or at night. Not only that, it really doesn't take itself too seriously either. I found myself laughing out loud quite a bit during the zany story. There are tons of secrets for the avid explorer, and the added graphics chip puts it on par with many Game Boy Advance and PlayStation 1 RPGs. There's so much to love packed into this sweet game, it really is a wonder that it doesn't have more of a cult following. And number 1, God. Well, here we are at number 1 with, surprise surprise, another Japan-only RPG! The game takes place in the real world, actually in modern day after an alien attack destroys the planet, and God was a hit in Japan, spawning even a PlayStation remake. However, a few years back, we got an English translation patch as well. And if this reminds you of Earthbound, you're in good company, because this really kind of is Earthbound, but on Earth. And if Gygas won? What remains of humanity is forced to hide in far-flung villages or underground caves in order to survive. You first traverse Japan, then Asia, and then eventually the rest of the world opens up before you. It's an absolute classic and deserves to have its own series, so check this one out, it is one of the greats. Well, that's it for the top 10 best hidden gems on the SNES. If you like this video and what I do here on the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon for exclusive videos and early access to my content, or coming on over to my Discord to chat and hang out. The links to them can be found in the video description. This has been David. If you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.